But I need to cite you as a cautionary tale to help my country. And the moral of that tale is, yes, you can move too far left. And when you do, you wind up pushing the people in the middle to the right. At its worst, Canada is what American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on extreme wokeness. And have you ever seen the Eurovision Song Contest? They actually listen to that crap. Look, everywhere in the world, I'm sure, seems great when you haven't lived there. I hear people tell me Costa Rica is beautiful. I'm sure it is. You'll also get bitten by a snake on the flight over.
The woke left have turned bashing America into an art form, praising it only when it suits them politically. Step out of office, and suddenly the country is a disaster. Bill Maher sees right through that hypocrisy, and he doesn't hold back. His critique was sharp, relentless, and spot on. So, if you haven't already, hit subscribe and let's dive in.
Confused by this political message. Vote for me because I hate it here. Now, does America have big problems? Yes, I've often cited the America sucks list. Things like being 54th in the world in infant mortality behind Cuba, 19th in literacy behind Russia, 72nd in female representation in government behind Iraq. A lot of work to do here. And is it possible for a country to lose itself so much that leaving it is justified? Yes, but we're not there yet, not by a long shot, and we don't need quitters. We need people who will stay and fix it.
Bill Maher didn't hold anything back. He went straight for the jugular. In his view, America doesn't need quitters, it needs people willing to stay, face challenges head-on, and actually fix what's broken. The frustration is obvious. How can the country improve if the very people who claim to care abandon it at the first sign of trouble? Maher called out what he sees as a recurring pattern among the woke left. When problems arise, instead of rolling up their sleeves and working through them, they retreat, complain, or leave entirely. This, he argues, erodes trust, weakens the nation, and makes political victories meaningless because real commitment is missing. For Maher, true patriotism is about persistence, courage, and accountability, not abandoning ship when times get tough. His message was clear: America needs doers, not deserters.
America isn't worth defending. Maybe the problem is that lots of people today are entitled whiners who have no perspective and no idea how good they have it. 59% of self-identified liberals say there have been times when they considered leaving America for good, like after NBC canceled The West Wing. I don't get it. You want so badly for every immigrant to come to this country and experience the good life, but somehow it's so terrible you want to leave?
And that's the paradox that keeps critics like Maher shaking their heads. The woke left, he says, sends mixed messages that just don't add up. On one hand, they champion open borders, encouraging people from all over the world to come to America, portraying it as a land of opportunity. On the other hand, they act as if America itself is intolerable, ready to leave at the first sign of discomfort. Maher's question cuts to the heart of the hypocrisy. If the country is really so flawed that you'd rather pack your bags, why encourage others to come? For him, this isn't about policy, it's about mindset. He sees the woke left as entitled, quick to point out every flaw, especially when their preferred party loses power. The result is a contradictory ideology that confuses voters, alienates citizens, and undermines the very nation they claim to love.
If, for your exile, you do wind up in some comparatively luxurious place like Canada or Japan or the UK, not that they want you. At best, you'll be trading a bunch of stuff you hate about this country for a bunch of stuff you'll soon hate about your new home. It took me only 4 days in Amsterdam to learn that while I admire Amsterdam, I don't want to live there. The buildings are cramped and shaped like needles. The food is awful. The TV's in a different language. It's wet and cold. The people are polite but cold, and they do a bunch of weird shit. The explanation for, according to my friend, was just remember they're high.
Maher hits the nail on the head. The truth is simple. If the woke left packed their bags and left America for another country, they'd find something to criticize there too. It's not about the place, it's about perspective. America may not be perfect, but it's still the best country in the world. Its influence, innovation, and freedoms are unmatched, which is why so many nations try to emulate it. Every day, countless people line up for visas, willing to endure months or even years of bureaucracy just to set foot here. While critics obsess over flaws, the bigger picture often gets lost. Maher's point is clear. Before abandoning ship, ask yourself if any other country could match the promise and potential America holds.
Italy always makes the list of great expat destinations because of all those stories on CNN about how you can buy a house in a quaint Italian village for $1, except it's not a house in the way we think of one, as a structure with plumbing and electricity and a roof. When these places were built, the Leaning Tower of Pisa was still straight. Sure, you can spend $100,000 to make them livable, and I'm sure it's no problem to find reliable workmen in rural Italy who you'll then fall in love with, like in Under the Tuscan Sun, but now you're living in some dinky village in Italy with nothing to do but watch the old guys play that game with the wooden balls.
Maher also pointed out how modern political and media messaging can be misleading, especially when it paints other countries as utopias. According to him, many of these portrayals are pure fantasy, carefully curated images, idealized narratives, and glossy promises that rarely match reality. Streets seem cleaner, systems seem fairer, life looks simpler, but the truth for residents is far more complex. Maher argues that this romanticized image can mislead some members of the woke left into believing other nations are inherently better than America. They're chasing a vision, not the truth. The danger, he warns, is that chasing illusions blinds people to both the challenges and the opportunities in their own country.
And have you ever seen the Eurovision Song Contest? They actually listen to that crap. Look, everywhere in the world, I'm sure, seems great when you haven't lived there. I hear people tell me Costa Rica is beautiful. I'm sure it is. You'll also get bitten by a snake on the flight over. The travel site Lonely Planet describes Sri Lanka as endless beaches, timeless ruins, welcoming people. And if you love child marriage, food shortages, and the strictest abortion laws in the world, Sri Lanka.
He didn't stop there. Maher urged the left to look closer before idealizing other countries. If they did, they'd quickly see that the nations they glorify aren't the utopias they're made out to be. Many have strict laws and regulations that would be tough for Americans to live under, limiting freedoms we often take for granted. Economically, some face instability, sluggish growth, or other challenges that make daily life harder than advertised. Socially, tolerance isn't always as high as ads suggest, and newcomers may face skepticism or even hostility. Maher's point is blunt but clear. These romanticized portrayals are misleading, masking real-world difficulties. Instead of chasing illusions, Americans should recognize the strengths of their own country while addressing its challenges.
Zombie lies. Zombie lies. That's when things change, but what people say about them doesn't. Yes, for decades, places like Vancouver and Amsterdam and Stockholm seemed idyllic because everything was free and all the energy we needed was produced by riding a bike to your job at the windmill. Canada was where all the treasured goals of liberalism worked perfectly. It was like NPR come to life. But with poutine. Canada was the Statue of Liberty with a low-maintenance haircut and cross-country skis, a giant idealized blue state with single-payer health care, gun control, and abortion on...
Canada often gets held up as a dream escape for the woke left, a quieter, calmer, more civilized alternative to America. But as Bill Maher pointed out, that image often collapses under scrutiny. He exposed cracks beneath the polished surface. The key takeaway? Fantasy rarely matches reality. Canada, like any country, faces serious challenges. Economic pressures, housing affordability issues, strained public services, and political tensions. Maher's argument is simple. No country escapes hardship. Assuming the grass is greener elsewhere without understanding the full picture is dangerous. His message is a warning every system comes with its burdens and compromises.
The problem with thinking everything's better in Canada. It's not. Not anymore, anyway. Last year, Canada added 1.3 million people, which is a lot in 1 year, the equivalent of the U.S. adding 11 million migrants in 1 year. And now they're experiencing a housing crisis even worse than ours. And we're sleeping in tents. The median price of a home here is $346,000. In Canada, converted to U.S. dollars, it's $487,000. If Barbie moved to Winnipeg, she wouldn't be able to afford her dream house, and Ken would be working at Tim Hortons.
And the numbers back it up. Canada's housing crisis is severe. In Vancouver, the average home costs over $1.17 million, while median family income is around $133,000, a massive affordability gap. Cities like Toronto and Vancouver have price-to-income ratios above 10, meaning homes cost more than 10 times what the average household earns annually. Nationwide, housing costs have surged over 20% in recent years, leaving many Canadians struggling for basic shelter. For those dreaming of Canada as a perfect escape, this is a reality check. Sky-high housing costs alone are enough to shatter the illusion. Owning a home feels nearly impossible, a far cry from the paradise some imagine.
There's their vaunted healthcare system, which ranks dead last among high-income countries in access to primary healthcare and ability to see a doctor in a day or two. And it's not for lack of spending. Of the 30 countries with universal coverage, Canada spends over 13% of its economy on it, which is a lot of money for free healthcare. Look, I'm not saying Canada still isn't a great country. It is, but those aren't paradise numbers. If Canada was an apartment, the lead feature might be America adjacent. And if America was a rental car, Canada would be America or similar.
And about healthcare? America isn't alone in having challenges. Critics often point to Canada as proof of a better system, but the reality is more complicated. Even Bill Maher highlighted the uncomfortable truth. Canada faces severe access delays. In 2025, the median wait for specialist treatment was 28.6 weeks, more than half a year. Some procedures, like orthopedic surgery, require nearly a year of waiting. These delays aren't minor inconveniences, they're systemic issues. MRIs, specialist visits, and surgeries all take time, leaving patients in prolonged pain or uncertainty. Even Canadian leadership admits the system falls short for millions. Maher's point is blunt. Romanticizing another country's system without understanding its flaws leads to disappointment. Every system has trade-offs. Grass isn't always greener elsewhere.
Canada, I'm not saying any of this because I enjoy it. I don't because I've always enjoyed you. But I need to cite you as a cautionary tale to help my country. And the moral of that tale is, yes, you can move too far left. And when you do, you wind up pushing the people in the middle to the right. At its worst, Canada is what American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on extreme wokeness. Like the saga of Canadian shop teacher Kayla Lemieux, whose pronouns are she, her, and those.
Finally, Maher used Canada as a cautionary tale for America's political culture. When politics becomes dominated by rigid social expectations and cultural policing, it risks alienating ordinary people. Many voters who once identified strongly with the left are growing frustrated not necessarily because their values changed, but because the movement feels out of touch. Some are quietly shifting toward the center, seeking balance, stability, and practicality over ideology. Maher's warning is clear. Ignoring internal criticism risks losing your base. Romanticizing other countries, embracing extreme ideology, and ignoring reality erodes credibility. Canada's struggles reveal the illusion many cling to. His advice? Reconnect with common sense, confront uncomfortable truths, and correct course now or risk losing public trust, relevance, and political power in future elections. And with that, we wrap today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.